You know what's funny? You know what's funny? What's funny is the fact that even after what we saw on Saturday night, there's still going to be people who are going to come up with any possible excuse in the book to try and shit all over All Elite Wrestling. Oh, AEW's boring. Oh, AEW sucks. Oh, it's nothing but a show for the marks. Oh, it's not interesting whatsoever. Oh, there's people that don't even look like they belong on national television. After what we saw on Saturday, if you have this mentality, you do not belong anywhere near wrestling-related material. I don't understand how anyone in their right mind can shit on a show like All Out. It wasn't the greatest show in all of space and time, don't get me wrong, but for what we got, for 4 hours, or 5 hours, what we got was a fantastic wrestling show in which everything had something of substance. Everything had something that we could sink our teeth into. Everything on that show had something that would interest someone. There was something for everyone on the show. Everyone had an opportunity to sink their teeth into something. And if you didn't, then you're not a wrestling fan. This is what professional wrestling should be about. After the day that we had on Saturday with Cardiff and All Out, it showed you exactly what professional wrestling should be like in the modern era. This is not the Attitude Era anymore. Back in the Attitude Era, wrestling was last, and everyone was focused on all these wacky-ass characters that were over the top. Not anymore. Wrestling's not a play. Wrestling is not a soap opera. It's not an overly dramatized television show. Wrestling is a sport. The times have changed. The companies have evolved. Or at least most of them have evolved. And it's time for the fans to evolve too. If you are going to search for some sort of excuse to shit on All Out, then you should not be watching wrestling. And I strongly consider that you find yourselves a new hobby. All Out was exactly what wrestling should be about. Serious, sports-driven show with serious storylines with wrestlers that we genuinely want to see. That's all we can ask for. That is all we can ask for. And just so you know, for those of you who saw the rewind for TakeOver Cardiff, I recorded that on Saturday, thinking that the weather would have been nicer for Tuesday. Or excuse me, Monday rather. But apparently it wasn't. So the event was canceled. I'm kind of bummed out about it, but I'm not going to let that take away from what was an amazing day of wrestling on Saturday. All Elite Wrestling's All Out pay-per-view showed you exactly why All Elite Wrestling is to be taken seriously, showed you exactly why All Elite Wrestling is going to be an alternative. An alternative that fans can turn to when the WWE constantly puts out shit television, main roster specifically. I'm telling you, if AEW continues to do this, they continue to put on shows like this, the ratings are only going to go up. The ratings are only going to go up. The fans are only going to increase. The revenue is only going to increase for AEW. Meanwhile, the ratings and the revenue for WWE are going to decrease. It's common logic, people. It's common logic. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know who I am, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel. As of course you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. This is the rewind for All Elite Wrestling's All Out, which streamed live on pay-per-view on Bleacher Report Live on Saturday night with the pre-show, the buy-in pre-show, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to go over each and every single highlight from All Out. It wasn't the greatest show on earth. There were some things that I didn't like. There were some things that didn't make sense. But overall, we got great wrestling and every match delivered in terms of wrestling. And come October, when we get that first weekly show, I guarantee you that they're going to put their best foot forward once again. That's all that they've been doing, putting their best foot forward when it comes to major shows like these. After the last 4 AEW shows, how can anyone sit here and say AEW is not going to succeed? How can anyone sit here and say AEW's terrible? How can anyone sit here and say AEW is not going to come into a light that we've never seen wrestling ever come into a light before since the days of the Attitude Era? All Elite Wrestling is going to be in the spotlight for a long, long time. And that's exactly what All Out proved. The buy-in pre-show started with the 21-women casino battle royal. Nyla Rose ended up taking the win. Now, we had some decent highlights here and there. It was a decent match for what it was. It really started to pick up towards the end. Nyla Rose was cleaning house in the beginning. The Big Swole, Ariel Monroe, Cedric Alexander's wife, she actually looked pretty good in this match before Nyla Rose eliminated her. She did a wheelbarrow flatliner on Nyla Rose. Ariel Monroe is very, very underrated. Keep your eye out for Ariel Monroe if she's in All Elite Wrestling. Tenelle Dashwood actually made an appearance, even though she is signed to Impact. She is not signing to AEW. We had Nicole Savoy with a suicide dive to the outside. She took out Bea Priestley and Britt Baker, who were brawling on the outside for the beginning portions of this match. She also took out ODB and Jazz. It was good to see ODB. I remember her back in the days of Impact when she was Eric Young's spouse. Mercedes Martinez was the Joker card, and she actually looked really good. She was taking out everyone. Sadie Gibbs and Bea Priestley, they had a nice back and forth. Nyla Rose, Bea Priestley, and Britt Baker came down to the final 3. Nyla Rose did a cartwheel. She did a cartwheel into a sidekick on the apron. She did a cartwheel sidekick on the apron, taking out both Bea and Britt Baker. So Nyla Rose is extremely athletic there. She looked very good in this match. We then had a suplex to Nyla out of the corner. Nyla Rose was taken out momentarily, and Britt Baker hit a super kick on Bea Priestley. Bea Priestley was taken out of the match. Nyla Rose was able to get the win because Bea was pulling Britt's arm over the top rope, and Nyla, with the assist from Bea Priestley, won the Casino Battle Royal. She is going on to compete for the All Elite Wrestling Women's Championship on the debut episode of All Elite Wrestling on TNT. Decent match for what it was, and here's my gripes with this. I'm a fan of Nyla Rose, and I think that Nyla Rose has a lot of potential. I think that Nyla Rose is going to be a big star on All Elite Wrestling's weekly show and on pay-per-views for years and years to come. She is very athletic. She is extremely talented in more ways than one. So, you cannot discredit Nyla Rose. I'm not discrediting Nyla Rose, but at the same point in time, I can't help but feel they only did this for 2 reasons. Number one, it's because that Nyla Rose is going to be competing in her hometown, and they want her to get this hometown pop. And 2, because it looks good in the eyes of the transgender community, since Nyla Rose is transgender. Nyla Rose, as good as she is, was winless going into this thing. She was 0-2 going into this Battle Royal. She has never legitimately beaten anyone, and no, a Battle Royal doesn't count. I'm talking about pinfall or submission. She was pinned by Riho back at Fyter Fest. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciate that they're continuing the storylines. I really do. I appreciate that they're continuing the storylines with Britt Baker and Bea Priestley, and how that's going to be a major focal point in the women's division on All Elite Wrestling. I appreciate how they're continuing the storyline with Riho and Nyla Rose, and how they have their history going on back at Fyter Fest. But at the same point in time, why am I going to take Nyla Rose as a legitimate competitor for the AEW Women's Championship when she hasn't even gotten a single legitimate win in All Elite Wrestling's history thus far? Now, Riho, I take Riho as more of a legitimate competitor to the AEW Women's Champion than Nyla Rose. Why? Because Riho actually has wins behind her. Riho has won 3 matches in AEW. 2 of them have been by pinfall. She pinned Nyla Rose back at Fyter Fest, and here at All Out, she pinned Shida, which I will talk about later on. I will talk about that match later on, but at the same point in time, I don't even think Riho's ready. Nyla, nor Riho's ready. Riho is a relatively unknown in the eyes of the AEW crowd. Though she's great, and though she looks very legit because of her recent wins, she isn't really ready. Neither is Nyla Rose. Why am I going to take Nyla Rose as a legitimate threat when she hasn't even gotten a win? And I feel they only did this to look good in the eyes of the transgender community, and because it's her hometown. I'm not knocking on Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose is extremely talented, and I think that she is going to be AEW Women's Champion one day. She has a lot of potential, but right now, she's not ready. She doesn't even look legit. I feel as though they could have done so much better. I would have much rather have seen Britt Baker and Shida. Hell, I would have even taken Britt Baker and Riho. I mean, take a look at what Britt Baker has accomplished. Britt Baker won the first ever match in the AEW Women's Division. She won a Fatal 4-Way back at Double or Nothing, which ironically had Nyla Rose in it. So she technically owns a victory over Nyla Rose herself. She wasn't even pinned at the Fyter Fest match. Now, I understand you want to continue the feud with Britt and B, but realistically, Britt Baker would have been a much better competitor to put in for a first time ever, especially a AEW Women's Championship match. I would have much rather have seen Britt and Shida. I would have even taken Britt and Riho, because at least Riho has some legitimacy behind her due to her win streak as of lately. Nyla Rose, she just doesn't look legit to me. She doesn't look legit because she has no legitimate wins. I get it plays up to the unpredictability factor of the Battle Royal, but why should I take Nyla Rose as a legitimate competitor when she has no wins behind her? If she would have had wins behind her, if she would have at least won a match back at Fyter Fest, then I would have taken that. I wouldn't have minded that. But this has been her only win in All Elite Wrestling so far, yet she's competing for the AEW Women's Championship. Didn't really make sense to me. Britt Baker would have been the best possible outcome, but we'll see how it plays out. I'm expecting a decent match, but in no way, shape, or form is Nyla ready, nor is Riho ready. And I'll talk about Riho when I get to that match later on the main show. Tag team action between Private Party, Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy, and Angelico and Jack Evans. This match was great. Great. For the 12 minutes that it was, these two teams got so much shit in this match. I wouldn't even mind watching these two compete for a fucking hour. These two teams are great at what they do. We had a back and forth between Angelico and Mark Quinn. Mark Quinn actually lost his glasses, and I believe Angelico just kicked him off. So that was obviously not good for Angelico and Jack Evans. Jack Evans, he hit a springboard corkscrew enziguri towards the beginning of this match. We had a nice double team move here by Angelico and Jack Evans, in which they delivered a double stomp back suplex maneuver to Mark Quinn. Isaiah Cassidy, he got rolling. We actually had a brutal tag team move here by Private Party where Isaiah Cassidy, he had Jack Evans, I believe it was, in a camel clutch. And Mark Quinn ran the ropes, leaped over Isaiah Cassidy, and did a double foot stomp right to the back of Jack Evans' neck. It looked fucking brutal. I don't even know how Jack Evans is still fucking walking. It looked fucking brutal. It looked like he legitimately snapped his neck on that double foot stomp. Absolutely brutal. We had Isaiah Cassidy with a corkscrew plancha to the outside. And then we had a shooting star press by Mark Quinn to Jack Evans for a close 2 count. That was a nice sequence right there. Down the home stretch, we had probably one of the most brutal sequences I think I've ever seen. Not one, but two reverse Ranas, one after the other. We had two reverse Ranas to, I believe it was Jack Evans. One by Isaiah Cassidy from the middle rope, and then another one by Mark Quinn. And then we had the Hurricane Rana into the cutter, the Gin and Juice by Private Party. And Private Party gets the win in a great fucking tag team match. The AEW tag team division is looking probably like the best tag team division in the entire world right now. And possibly the best tag team division in all of wrestling company history. I have never seen a tag team division in the history of wrestling in any company that looks as good as it does right now. All Elite Wrestling could very well go down as the company with the best tag team division in wrestling history thus far. After the match, they went to go shake hands, but Angelico and Jack Evans actually attacked Private Party. Angelico and Jack Evans are certified heels right now. And you know something? They're much better as heels. Private Party, they're big baby faces. Private Party obviously was going to get the win because they have a tournament matchup against none other than the Young Bucks. So obviously they needed the win here. Angelico and Jack Evans, they're expendable right now. Angelico and Jack Evans, I feel as though that Angelico and Jack Evans and Private Party could very well go into an undercard feud later on in the fall months of 2019. I really wouldn't mind that. But overall, great match for the buy-in. I would have definitely loved to see this match on the main show. But for what this was, fantastic shit. We actually had a promo for a relatively unknown superstar, a video package for Wardlow. I do not know who Wardlow is. I'm not sure what he offers, but I am very open to seeing new people in AEW. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Wardlow brings to the table. Going to see what he can do. If anyone can direct me to Wardlow, please tell me about Wardlow in the comments. Main show. The main show kicked off with a 6-man tag between SCU, Scorpio Sky, Frankie Kazarian, and Christopher Daniels, taking on Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Marco Stunt. A small boy, and his dinosaur. This was a very good 6-man tag. It only went about 12 minutes, and you know something? That is all that it needed. This match was extremely entertaining, and it got SCU and Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Marco Stunt that much more over. Luchasaurus. I don't know. I seriously don't know where these guys come from, but it seems as though the more I watch wrestling, the more I see big guys that move around like fucking cruiserweights. Luchasaurus. He flew over the top rope in the early portions of this match with a tope con hero. A tope con hero. A guy that's 6'5", 260 pounds in Luchasaurus. I swear to God, the more that I see these big guys doing moves like this, I legit have no words. I have no words. Lucha fucking Saurus, man. SCU, they were able to take over control of Jungle Boy. They were working on Jungle Boy for the middle portion of this match until Luchasaurus, he got the hot tag, and he single-handedly took out SCU all by himself. He was delivering kicks, he was delivering boots, he was delivering choke slams and moonsaults. It was a one-man wrecking crew. Scorpio Sky ended up taking out Luchasaurus, and SCU ended up getting the win, like they should have. Scorpio Sky took out Luchasaurus with the Tope Con Hero, and then they threw Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt back into the ring. And Frankie Kazarian had both men upside down in the Tombstone Piledriver position, and they delivered the best Meltzer ever. The springboard moonsault out of the corner into the Meltzer driver, and SCU wins a very good 6-man tag. Afterwards, they shake hands, they show each other respect, and the crowd has a standing ovation for all 6 competitors. SCU, I think that SCU could very well be in top contention of becoming the very first ever AEW World Tag Team Champions. I know a lot of people are saying Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. I know. But at the same point in time, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, as we speak right now, they are the underdog tag team. They are the DIY, so to speak, of All Elite Wrestling right now. I don't think that they should be the first champions. I think that they should wait. The journey is what makes the victory that much more special. And Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, they haven't really had that much of a journey yet. I feel as though SCU or the Lucha Bros would be good first champions, and then we can look towards All Out 2 in August of 2020. That is when you have Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus become the first ever, or not the first ever, the AEW World Tag Team Champions. You want to get these two individuals, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, you want to get them to a point where the crowd is just so hungry for them to become champions. A big stage like All Out, having an established team like the Lucha Bros or SCU go up against Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, I think that would make the win that much more special. I think that if it was up to me, I would definitely have the Lucha Bros go on to become the first ever champions. Then you can have SCU beat them, possibly at the May show. And then from May to August, SCU holds the titles, and then you give them to none other than Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. After what they did here, after what Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy and SCU did here, I would definitely love to see them do it again. And you know something? 1 year later, at All Out 2, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy winning the AEW World Tag Team titles, I think that would be a great moment. But right now, this was the right decision. SCU looks great. SCU is looking legit as ever, and I think SCU could very well be in top contention of becoming the first ever AEW World Tag Team Champions. The Bastard Pac versus the Cleaner, Kenny Omega. This match was great. This was a great fucking match. I believe it went like 25 minutes. These two men poured everything into this match, and it turned out to be a great fucking match. Despite only having a build of 10 days, this match is fucking great. We had a Tope Con Hero taking out Pac in the beginning of this match. Pac, I don't know about you guys, but my God, has WWE really dropped the ball with someone like Pac. Pac was so fucking fluid in this match. He did a moonsault out of the corner and then reversed it into a satellite DDT. That looked fluid as hell. We had a moonsault to the outside on Kenny Omega, and it was in a position in which Pac looked like he could have legitimately injured his ankles. He did a moonsault to the televised side of the ring. That was the far televised side of the ring, and it looked like he legitimately injured his ankle. If you were going to do spots like this, I just want to point this out. If AEW is going to do spots like this, they should do it by the ramp. Do it by the ramp where there's a lot of room and they can land a little bit more safely, and they don't have to worry about possibly breaking something on the barricade. Either that or just move the barricades back a foot or two. That's something that they definitely need to work on. That, obviously, the camera work's getting better. I just want to take a break here from the match. The camera work is getting better, I will say. Camera work is getting better. But obviously the production crew, they still have to work on that because I believe Jimmy Havoc came up on the nameplate screen when Darby Allin was coming out. And I'll talk about that later on. But anyway, we had a moonsault to the outside. Omega was tossed back into the ring. Beautiful 450 by Pac. Gets a close 2 count. We had a buckle bomb spinebuster combination by Kenny Omega. That looked great there. Pac got the upper hand on Omega with the snap German suplex off the rope and then a bridging German suplex. Double German suplex combo right there. We had a phenomenal sequence here. We had a punt kick, a super kick, and then 2 V-triggers. We then had a reverse Rana botch. That was the only botch in this match. We had a nice sequence, and then they went to go for a reverse Rana. Kenny Omega, he didn't get the reverse Rana, but Pac tried to get the reverse Rana. I believe he slipped off of Kenny Omega's shoulders and Kenny Omega just kind of had to fall back. But outside of that one botch, fantastic match. And then we had the Brutalizer by Pac. The Brutalizer was locked in. The Rings of Saturn. But he calls it the Brutalizer. Had the Brutalizer locked in on a standing Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega fell to the ground, and he passed out. Kenny Omega, he did not tap out, he passed out. And you know something? Now that I look back on it, this was the right decision. What a fucking way for Pac to debut. Against a win, against Kenny Omega, and a win over Kenny Omega. His debut match. How many people can say they had a great fucking match in their debut match with Kenny Omega, and they beat Kenny Omega? This right here was one of the best debuts that I've seen in a company outside of Nakamura and Sami Zayn back at TakeOver Dallas. I can't compare the two matches because both matches were great. I just can't compare the two. But this match, great fucking match. I don't even mind that it went on this early. And you know something? Kenny Omega, he didn't need the win. If they go ahead with Pac and Jericho for the first ever AEW World Heavyweight Championship title defense on TV, so be it. I wouldn't mind it. Go ahead. Either that or they could do a Pac and Hangman program. Because they did tease that because Pac had some words for Hangman in an exclusive interview after All Out. But either way, great match. Fantastic win for Pac. I don't even know how WWE could let someone like Pac slip through their fingers. I really don't know. Look at what this guy has accomplished in just a short year. Just a short year. He was the Dragon's Gate Pro Wrestling Champion of the world. And now he beat Kenny Omega in his very first match of an AEW history. Pac is going to be something special. It really is. Keep your eye out for Pac. Jimmy Havoc versus Joey Janela versus Darby Allin. So I mentioned that there was some production crew difficulties, and I just dropped my pen. I'm not even editing that out. But there was some production crew difficulties with the triple threat match as Jimmy Havoc's name, I believe, came up when Darby Allin was making his entrance. So obviously that's something that they need to work on. The camera work is getting better. Now you got to get the production crew. Technological features down to a T. This was a brutal fucking match. It was almost hard to watch at times. And you know something? It fit the characters of all three of these men. The match started out with Havoc getting his mouth taped shut with thumbtacks in them. Yes, you heard me correctly. Jimmy Havoc got his mouth taped shut with thumbtacks in them. And then he was taped to a chair, and then it was essentially a one-on-one match between Janela and Allin. Allin was going to jump on Janela. But Havoc was like, hey, come on, give it to me. Havoc was like, come here, jump on me. And there was a method to Havoc's madness, as Darby Allin did a cannonball onto Havoc when Havoc was still taped to the chair. Havoc was able to get out of the chair, and he spit the thumbtacks out. Unreal. We had Emerald Frozen on the apron to Darby Allin. And you know something? I just need to mention this right here. Why is it always Darby Allin that is on the receiving end of the worst fucking moves that the wrestlers deliver? I swear to God. Darby Allin is shaping up to be the new Mick Foley. He just doesn't care. He has no regard for his body whatsoever. I swear to God, he's going to be as battered as Mick Foley is right now by the time he's 30. He's 22 years old. Relax, dude, please. We had Havoc take the staple gun, and he stapled a staple into Joey Janela's head. He did a monkey flip with the chair, but Joey held on to the chair, and he sat right back on the chair and crossed his legs, and just smiled. Joey Janela's fucking great. I'm so glad I actually got to interview him back in April. We had a table get set up on the outside area where Havoc was taped up. Darby Allin was just coming to. Joey Janela delivered a brainbuster on the chair to Jimmy Havoc. And then he ran across the ring and did a flipping pile driver to Darby Allin through the table that was set up between the ring apron and the barricade. So again, Darby Allin on the receiving end of a brutal fucking move. And that wasn't even the most brutal move of this match. The most brutal move of this match was still yet to come. So after this, Darby Allin rises from the dead yet again. I don't know how. He brings in a skateboard, but there was thumbtacks glued to the back of the skateboard, and Darby Allin channeled his inner Tony Hawk and dove off the top rope with a skateboard, skating right across the back of Joey Janela. He did a skateboard with the thumbtacks right off of the back of Joey Janela as if he was Tony Hawk, looking to get a perfect score in a skateboarding competition. Thumbtacks were sticking out of Joey Janela's back. And then we had the steel steps come into play. The steel steps came into play when Darby Allin, he took out Jimmy Havoc and he set up Jimmy Havoc on the steps. He took a Cracker Barrel, and the Cracker Barrel obviously was the sponsor for this match. He goes to do a coffin drop with the Cracker Barrel, and Jimmy Havoc moves. So he ends up taking himself out effectively with a coffin drop through the Cracker Barrel onto the steps. I genuinely don't know how Darby Allin is still walking. I don't know. Jimmy Havoc and Joey Janela were back in the ring. Jimmy Havoc did a superplex onto the Cracker Barrel. Joey Janela's legs went through the Cracker Barrel, and then he did the Acid Rainmaker through the barrel. Jimmy Havoc wins a great match. Now, the gripe that I have with this is the fact that Jimmy Havoc won. I'm not trying to discredit Jimmy Havoc. More likely than not, he's a nice guy outside of the ring. More likely than not, he is a great wrestler. He is a great wrestler. I'm not going to discredit his wrestling ability. He's very good in the ring. But he just isn't my cup of tea. Now, he may be everyone else's cup of tea, and, I get why they would see Jimmy Havoc as their cup of tea. They like the deathmatch type of wrestlers, but at the same point in time, it's not that I don't like the character that Havoc possesses. It's just the fact that his age, I think his age and his look, maybe it is his look, maybe it is his character, maybe it is his look and his age that is really kind of a turnoff for me. It's his look and his age that's really a turnoff for me because I just don't really see much value in Jimmy Havoc. I really don't see Jimmy Havoc going that far in All Elite Wrestling. There's only so much that a guy like Jimmy Havoc can do. I see a lot more value in Janela and Darby based off of their youth. I see a lot more value in Janela based off of his look. He has that bad boy look where he just doesn't care. So obviously, and the crowd fucking loves him for it. And Darby Allin, what can I say about Darby Allin? The guy's 22 years old and he's putting on matches like this. I mean, how can you not look towards Darby Allin and think, damn, this guy's a fucking star? The guy's character, the guy's dark persona is fucking great. I do see a lot more value in Darby Allin and Joey Janela, and I think that one of those two, especially Darby, would have benefited more from this win. I really don't see Jimmy Havoc going far. I really don't. Darby Allin and Joey Janela have much more value in them than Jimmy Havoc does. His age and his character is really what is going to bring him down. He's a nice guy, great wrestler, but his character and his age, I think that just diminishes his value. He does not have as much value as a Darby Allin or a Joey Janela. I'm sorry. I know that it's probably going to piss some people off, but that's just the fucking truth. Darby or Joey would have benefited a lot more from this win. Great match, don't get me wrong. Great match. Wrong winner. The Best Friends and the Dark Order The Dark Order, obviously consisting of Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. This was a good match for what it was. It was a good tag team match. Not as good as the pre-show tag team match, but it was a very good match. This was obviously the matchup that would determine which team would get the first round bye in the AEW World Tag Team Tournament. Chuck Taylor, he got the hot tag, and he was all over Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. We had a Tope Con Hero to the outside. We had a nice pop-up German suplex on Stu Grayson, excuse me. We had a pop-up suplex, and it looked like they were going for a grand amplitude-like move, but he turned it into a German suplex, and Grayson was able to kick out. Grayson hit a springboard tornillo twist to the outside, and he took out Taylor and the minions of the Dark Order. Evil Uno was in the ring. He hit the Swanton Bomb on Trent Beretta. He was able to kick out. We had the combination that we saw at Fight for the Fallen, where we had the Cannonball by Evil Uno in the corner to Taylor, and then the 450 by Stu Grayson on Trent. And then the Dark Order was able to set up, hit Fatality, that gory bomb, RKO-like move, and the Dark Order win a good tag team match for what it was. The Dark Order looked like they were going to take Trent Beretta away. The lights went out, and Orange Cassidy is standing in the ring with his hands in his pocket, just very lackadaisical. The crowd's going crazy. He runs the ropes with his hands still in his pocket and does a fucking suicide dive with his hands in his pocket. Who does that? Who fucking does that? I don't think I've ever seen a suicide dive with someone's hands in their pocket. The crowd's going crazy. And then Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta get back in the ring, and they give him a hug. So I think we have a new addition to the Best Friends. Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, you know something? I can get behind that. The Best Friends are already super over. Orange Cassidy's a fucking beast. And he's a great wrestler when he chooses to be. He's got a great character as well. And you know something? A lot of people are always saying, oh, but you don't like comedy in wrestling. Yeah, I do. I like comedy in wrestling as long as it's done right. You take a look at Orange Cassidy. How can you say that Orange Cassidy is not comedy in wrestling done right? Orange Cassidy's great. He has a character that is serious in a way, but yet so great at the same time. Yet so funny and great. That's the thing. He has a sense of seriousness, and that sense of seriousness with his serious look and his just lackadaisical look, that's what makes it funny. The fact that he just doesn't give a shit, that's what makes it funny. 24/7 title, a lot of people are saying that that's funny. That's not fucking funny. That's embarrassing. Shit like that does not get people over. Shit like that embarrasses the talent and makes them look worse than they already look right now. Orange Cassidy's doing fucking wonders with this current gimmick that he has. He's doing wonders. And you know something? Adding him to the Best Friends, I think it's going to be a very, very nice faction. And I think they're going to be a very popular act come October. We had Riho versus Hikaru Shida. This was a damn good match for the women. This was a damn good match. It's actually hard for me to compare this match to Kaylee Ray and Toni Storm. I'm going to say this match gets the edge. I'm going to say this match gets the edge just because of the fact that they did get more time. Riho's double stomps. I would not want to be on the receiving end of Riho's double stomps. My God. Riho hit the double stomp to Shida on the apron. That looked brutal right there. And then Riho followed up with a crossbody in the ring for a close 2 count. We had an enziguri on the apron by Shida, and then Shida did a Cesaro-like superplex. He did a Cesaro-like superplex from the apron all the way into the ring. So that was a great move. Shida is great at what she does. She's very powerful as well. We had a double Meteora by Riho, getting a 2 count on Shida. Shida hit a brutal backbreaker, a fireman's carry backbreaker on Riho, getting a 2 count, and then they started to exchange roll-up after roll-up. Riho did a crucifix into a tilt-a-whirl around the arms, into a jackknife roll-up, and Riho gets the win over Shida. A huge upset win over Shida in a damn good match. She is going to face off against Nyla Rose for the AEW Women's Championship at the very first episode of AEW on TNT on October 2nd. It was a damn good match. I do see Riho as more legit than Nyla Rose, obviously based on her momentum, but right now, I don't think Riho's ready either. And I feel as though they did this so that way Nyla could get her win back against Riho, which I appreciate the storyline continuation, and Nyla can get a big pop in her hometown. I appreciate the storyline continuation, and I appreciate giving other women opportunities other than the women who we look at as the standard bearers, but at the same point in time, they could have done a hell of a lot better. They really could have done a hell of a lot better for the first ever AEW Women's Championship match. Britt Baker versus Shida or Britt versus Riho would have been a hell of a lot better. That's just me. Shawn Spears and Cody Rhodes. First off, the entrances to this match were badass. Both entrances by both men were badass. Cody and Shawn Spears looked like fucking stars. This right here was a main event performance. This was a main event performance by both men. Extremely entertaining. The storyline was great. The storytelling was even better. This match was very, very good. You know something? I actually saw people hating on Dave Meltzer just because he said that he thought that this match was better than Tyler Bate and Walter from TakeOver Cardiff. So what? If he thinks that, let him think that. I don't understand what the big deal. I mean, people are making so much of a big deal as if he said that Jinder Mahal and Shinsuke Nakamura from SummerSlam in 2017 was better than Walter and Tyler Bate. What the fuck do you want? If he thinks that way, then let him think that way. To a certain extent, the storytelling in the match was a little bit better. It was entertaining. The story going into this match was a hell of a lot better than the story with Tyler Bate and Walter. The storyline with Shawn Spears and Cody was actually told a lot better than Walter and Tyler Bate. You see, Tyler Bate, all he did was come back, attack Walter, and then Sid Scala just granted him a title match. But Shawn Spears and Cody actually have a history, and Shawn Spears cracked Cody in the head with a chair back at Fyter Fest to set up this match, and he instituted Tully Blanchard of all people. So, to a certain extent, there were points where it was better, and there are points where it wasn't better. But if he thinks that overall it was better, who cares? If he thinks that way, let him think that way. It's not that big of a deal. Cody was making his entrance, and then immediately he did a suicide dive to Shawn Spears through the ropes, sent Shawn Spears over the top. The fight spilled into the crowd, and then we finally got into the ring. Shawn Spears was on the receiving end of a lot of offense from Cody. We had a Hurricane Rana off the middle rope, springboard cutter. By the way, Cody does a very nice springboard cutter. He really does. I got to give Cody props for that. Him adding new moves like that to his arsenal is very, very nice. And it's a breath of fresh air. We had Alabama Slammer, and Shawn Spears was able to fight off all of this. We ended up having a Death Valley driver by Shawn Spears to Cody on the steel ramp. Both men were taken back into the ring. Both men were down and out. MJF and Tully Blanchard actually got into it. Tully ended up taking out MJF. So Tully Blanchard was going after MJF, and out of nowhere, Arn Anderson, yes, Double A, Arn Anderson comes out. He's had enough of this shit. He gets in the ring, and he spinebusters Shawn Spears. Tully Blanchard's like, what the hell? And he's going back to deal with Arn Anderson. Cody and Shawn, they're in the ring. Cody has a steel chair, And Shawn Spears is like, no, don't do it. Shawn Spears tries for the cheap attack, but Cody was able to catch him. He was doing the punches, he hit the bionic elbow, tossed the chair to Shawn Spears, hit the disaster kick with the chair, Crossroads, and Cody wins a very good match, a very entertaining match. And trust me when I tell you, I did not think that Cody should have won this match. I'm in agreement with everyone that said that Cody didn't need the win. He didn't. I don't know why Cody got the win here. Maybe they're continuing this. Maybe Shawn Spears has something else to prove. Maybe Shawn Spears is still going to stick around and he's still going to take out Cody. Maybe we see Shawn Spears and MJF down the line. Who knows? But this was a very good match, a very entertaining match. Cody did not need the win. Shawn Spears would have benefited a lot more from beating Cody Rhodes, and he would have solidified himself as a top heel. But let's not take anything away from what Shawn Spears did in this match. This was a main event performance. And in 16 minutes, All Elite Wrestling did more for Shawn Spears in 16 minutes, more than the WWE did for Shawn Spears in 2 years on the main roster. And that right there, that is fucking saying something. That is fucking saying something. You cannot, and I'm telling you, you cannot discredit anything that Shawn Spears did in this. Even in defeat, Shawn Spears looked like a main event player, and Shawn Spears is going to be a valuable asset in AEW for years and years to come. I'm telling you, Shawn Spears, he is going to favor much better in AEW. He could very well be the first ever AEW mid-card champion if they want to go there. I hear some people saying, oh, Shawn Spears is bland and boring. Oh, Cody's putting himself before everyone else. How is Cody putting himself before everyone else? Oh, Cody's only benefiting his friends. How? Cody was the only person out of him, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page that came out victorious at All Out. Cody has been in the mid-card 3 times, and the one time in which he was in the main event was at Fight for the Fallen, and he lost. So, how is Cody only benefiting himself? Are you telling me he did nothing for Shawn Spears here? Yes, Shawn Spears should have gotten the win. I agree with that, but we cannot take away the fact that Shawn Spears just had one of the best performances of his fucking career. How are you going to say that Cody buried Shawn, or Cody's not doing anything good except for himself? Look at what he did for Shawn Spears. He brought Shawn Spears to a matchup in which we have never seen Shawn Spears in the history of his career. We have never seen Shawn Spears look this good. And if you don't think Shawn Spears looks like a legitimate fucking player, then you have no fucking say in anything professional wrestling related. You don't. You do not get to speak other than... you do not even get to speak about professional wrestling. You don't even get to open your mouth other than to eat, drink, and breathe. You do not get to talk if you do not think that Shawn Spears looked like a legitimate fucking player in this match. WWE had something special with Shawn Spears, and they never gave him an opportunity. AEW gave him this opportunity, and he shined the brightest that he's ever shined before. Shawn Spears, even in defeat, looked like a main event player. He would have benefited a lot more from the win, but we cannot take away from the fact that this match was very good, very entertaining. The storytelling was great. Cody always brings it when it comes to these types of matches, and Shawn Spears is legit. Shawn Spears is as legit as he has ever been in his career. And he is going to be something special. Just watch. Just watch. Co-main event. We had the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks in an Escalera De La Muerte. This was fantastic. This was probably the most brutal ladder match I think I've ever seen since the North American Championship ladder match back at NXT TakeOver New Orleans. This was brutal. This was brutal as brutal can be. I was legitimately glued to the screen with my hand over my heart in fear that one of these guys was going to be seriously hurt. We had Rey Fenix do a plancha over the top of the ladder to the outside, taking out everyone to start this match. We had tables set up on the area, in the area, the outside area in which Havoc was strapped to the chair. We had double spears. We had Matt Jackson spear Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. spear Nick Jackson through the ropes. A Big E-like spear by both men to their opponents' partners through the tables on the outside. That looked fucking brutal there. Back in the ring, Matt Jackson took Rey Fenix, I believe it was, to Northern Lights Suplex City. We had 3 Northern Lights suplexes, and then we had the 4th one into the ladder. That looked brutal. We then had a Hurricane Rana onto the ladder to Nick Jackson. That looked brutal right there. We had... what was it? I believe we had Phoenix. Phoenix did a Canadian Destroyer. Actually, no, I think it was Pentagon Jr. Pentagon Jr. did a Canadian Destroyer to Nick Jackson. He did a Canadian Destroyer to Nick Jackson off of the top of the ladder through a table set up in the ring. I swear to God, if they would have done that wrong, Nick Jackson would have been dead. I swear to God, that was brutal in every sense of the word. I was having a heart attack just sitting at my desk watching it on my computer. That was fucking ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm surprised that these 4 men have the balls to even take spots like that. We had ladders set up on the outside, and we had double splashes. We had the opponents taking out their opponents' partners yet again. Only this time, their opponents' partners were set up on tables, and the opponents, I believe it was Nick and Rey Fenix. They did double splashes off of the ladder through the tables, taking out all 4 of them. All 4 of them were down. Back in the ring, Nick Jackson, he was sent through a table on the outside near the ramp. And then we had a package pile driver on the ladder to Matt Jackson. The ladder was set up on the far televised camera side between the ramp and the apron. Package pile driver. Lucha Bros go in, Lucha Bros climb the ladder, and the Lucha Bros retain the AAA World Tag Team Championships. Afterwards, 2 masked figures came out. They attacked the Lucha Bros, and they attacked the Young Bucks. Everyone's like, who is it? Who is it? They unmask. It's Santana. It's Ortiz. LAX is in the AEW World Tag Team Division. And I'm telling you right now, they have just made the AEW World Tag Team Division untouchable. That tag team division, again, I will state, this is the best tag team division that I have ever seen in a company in wrestling history. There is no doubt about it. LAX, Young Bucks, Lucha Bros, Best Friends, Private Party, SCU, and Helico and Jack Evans, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, the Dark Order. I don't know what to tell you. That tag team division is going to be looked at as the best tag team division in wrestling history for years to come. And it is going to be very, very hard for any company, any wrestling company in the entire world, to top that tag team division. Absolutely fantastic. AEW also announced their next pay-per-view event. It is called Full Gear. On November 9th, Saturday, November 9th, AEW Full Gear will be live on pay-per-view. Then in the main event, we had Chris Jericho and Hangman Page. This was a very good match. It wasn't the best, but it was a very good match. You know, there was some fucking idiot. It was some fucking idiot that was saying that Hangman Page was boring, and this match was bad because of Hangman Page. Some guy that was shitting on Hangman Page because he thinks he's boring. Hangman Page is bland and boring. Yeah, but I'm sure that Bobby Lashley coming out every single week, stuttering over his own words in his promos, doing nothing but spears, suplexes, and power slams. I'm sure that is so entertaining, right? I'm sure Braun Strowman coming out every single week saying, "Get these hands," and then destroying a piece of the arena when yelling at the top of his lungs. I'm sure that is so exciting. I'm sure it's so fun to watch, right? Oh no, wait, even better. I'm pretty sure Roman Reigns getting beaten down for 90% of his matches, only to come back with a Superman punch, a clothesline, a drive-by, and a spear. He came back with 4 moves and won the match. Wow. So great, right? But Hangman Page is boring, right? If you're telling me Hangman Page is boring after I just named 3 of the most boring individuals in the wrestling industry today, you do not have the right to speak about professional wrestling related material. You don't have the right to speak. Sit the fuck down, shut your mouth, and leave the wrestling talk to the adults. Leave the wrestling talk to the intelligent fans of the wrestling community. Thank you, and good night. But anyway. Jericho and Page. This was a very good match, and these two did a very good job following everything that we have seen and giving us a damn good AEW World Heavyweight Championship match. And, you know something, a lot of people were saying that Page should have won. I understand your point, but you have to take this into consideration. Just listen. Page, no matter how good he is, he's a relatively unknown. A lot of people are actually complaining that, AEW's pushing the old talent over the younger guys. Trying to compare it to us complaining about WWE. There's a difference between us complaining about the WWE doing this and then with AEW doing this. AEW is an up-and-coming company. They need that name value. It's the very first champion. Hangman Page isn't buried. Hangman Page obviously is going to be world champion one day, but Chris Jericho not only adds the name value, but Chris Jericho adds the better story. See, the WWE is already an established company. They don't need these names anymore. They don't need names like Brock Lesnar. They don't need names like Goldberg. They don't need names like The Undertaker or Edge or Cena or Shane McMahon. They don't need those names anymore. There's a difference. They do not need those names. AEW, to get on the map, they need those names. Once they get on the map and they get the ball rolling, they hit the ground running, then they won't need these names anymore. Chris Jericho provides the better story as well. You take a look at Chris Jericho and the heel gimmick that he has right now. This is probably the best gimmick that Chris Jericho has played as a heel in his entire run in the wrestling industry. This heel gimmick is fucking fantastic. Jericho is a goldmine with this heel gimmick. Adam Page, he's a great babyface. And you know something? This heel gimmick is only going to get Adam Page that much more over. Adam Page is going to be portrayed like an underdog. Adam Page is going to be portrayed like a Daniel Bryan. He is going to go on a journey. He is going to fight and scratch and claw his way to becoming the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. He doesn't need to become champion right away. If he becomes champion right away, then where's the specialness? Where's the excitement? Where's the energy? The journey for Adam Page is just getting started. It's the same thing that I said with Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. The journey is important. Why were we so excited when Daniel Bryan finally became the WWE World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania 30? Because the journey that Daniel Bryan went on had us all invested. We were on the edge of our seats. We were fully invested in having Daniel Bryan go forth and win the title. Why were we so invested with Johnny Gargano? Because Johnny Gargano had to fight. He had to scratch. He had to claw. He had to go through every single obstacle put in front of him. Aleister Black, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole. And when he won the NXT title, That crowd was pro Adam Cole on that night. But when he finally won the NXT title, the crowd fucking exploded. It's the same thing with Adam Page. You build him up, start off small, have him scratch and claw his way up the rank, and then you give him the title. If you gave him the title here, it wouldn't have really felt all that special. Chris Jericho's heel gimmick right now is the best heel gimmick that AEW has right now, outside of MJF, of course. Chris Jericho adds a lot more value into being the first ever AEW World Heavyweight Champion, as well as a better story. A potential Jericho and Omega 3, or a potential Jericho and Pac match. After the matches that Jericho and Pac had, why wouldn't you want to see that match? Pac and Jericho for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship? I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like a fucking classic to me. Jericho was the best choice to win here. Name value and the better story. The story is just starting for Adam Page. And when he becomes champion, it's going to feel that much more special. Jericho was able to catch Page with double knees off a shooting star press off the apron. Page actually busted open Jericho right above his right eye. I think it was not his right eye, his left eye. Right above his left eye. We had an avalanche swinging neck breaker from the top, getting a close 2 count. We had a huge moonsault to the outside by Hangman Page. Tossed back into the ring. We had a buckshot lariat countered with a code breaker. That looked fucking great. Close 2 count right there. Jericho and Page exchanged roll-up after roll-up, and Jericho was then hit with the dead eye. Jericho kicked out of the dead eye. We had Adam Page hit the buckshot lariat one more time. He went for the dead eye again. Chris Jericho countered, went for the backslide, and Adam Page rolled through. Jericho spun around and hit the Judas effect. Jericho hit the Judas effect. Jericho pinned Adam Page. 1, 2, 3. Jericho is the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Very good match. Very good main event. It delivered. It did what it needed to do. And Jericho is going to go into October as your very first AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Right decision. We get the better story. And you know something? A lot of people were kind of mad that CM Punk didn't show up. Why? After a show like that, would you really be that mad if CM Punk didn't show up? I'm not mad. To a certain extent, I'm actually kind of glad that CM Punk didn't show up. You know why? It shows you that AEW doesn't need CM Punk. After a show that they just put on, a great fucking show, though it had plenty of flaws and plenty of questionable booking decisions, we got a great wrestling show. And you know something? Come October, it's going to be that much more better. It's going to be that much better when we get to October. Jericho as champion, we don't need CM Punk. We do not need CM Punk. AEW is going to be just fine without CM Punk. AEW is going to do a lot of good. Just wait. Keep your eyes peeled for AEW in October. This war is just getting started, and let me tell you something. It is going to be a very fun time for wrestling fans. I'm going to be watching both shows. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on both shows. I'm going to see if I can cover both AEW and WWE. It's definitely going to be hard for me, especially with the classes that I have. I start classes literally tomorrow, and on top of that, I'm gonna have to move the Lightning Flash update possibly to Sunday. I think I might have to move it to Sunday because I'm working on Saturday, and SmackDown's gonna be on Friday, and then the pay-per-views are going to, take a lot out of me as well. So bear with me. I'm going to try my best to get all my content up for you guys, but if I can't, obviously you know why. Work and college are obviously number one for me. But ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of The Rewind. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. Here's what I want you guys to do. Follow me on Instagram at the DJ Storms. Follow me on Twitter at Man of Charisma. Go check out the rewind for NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. The link is in the description. I also want you guys to hit that subscribe button. We are so close. We are so close to 1,400 subscribers. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. Hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up. We're going to try and get this video to 10 thumbs up. Leave a comment down below which match you liked the most at All Out. And what are your thoughts going into the All Elite Wrestling weekly show in October. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm DJ Storms. This has been the Rewind. I hope you have a great week. I will see you Friday for the Lightning Flash update.